Alright. This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. I'm going to be doing kind of in and out of a LiveStream. Let's see. We've got a couple things going on. We've got... I can leave the ATER. Taking a look. Looks like there is a cell wall. Why isn't it giving me home? Take a look at this real quick. I don't know if they changed this around, but normally you would have the prices next to it. This is $5. I mean, the midpoints, but like they normally show this stuff, like either in between or like. I don't know why it's not doing it like it used to. It's been a while since I used the level 2s on this, but I mean, I guess it's represented in there. What's going on? Let's see. I normally don't stream during the day, but I was told to hang out at work. Or sorry, not to go into work because, you know, I was possibly exposed to COVID, so let's take a look and see. See. VIX has been rising, huh? Slowly. Let's take a look at some of these tickers. All right. How's it going? I see I guess somebody joined me. Do you want me to pull anything for you? So far it's you and me, whoever is watching. So I was going to say, if you want me to pull any tickers or... Let me see. I got to make a couple trades. Give me a second. Hey, what's up, Don? How are you? How's it going, bud? Tell me if the volume's okay on the stream. I was going to say, I've been messing around with new microphone equipment. Thank you for your info for a couple days ago regarding MMAT. I have 50-cent calls for 2024. Ah, yeah, okay. So let's take a look real quick for you. Let's pull up MMAT over here. Spy's dumping, but let's see what's going on. All right, so they're still up 15 point. Is it? No, they just went negative. Okay. Let's take a look real quick at kind of the overall for you. So I'll pull up DilutionTracker. I don't think anything's changed, but let's just kind of cover it. All right. So Meta materials, right, got really popular back before the merger. The merger ended up screwing over a bunch of people. So there's been a lot of people sitting there holding, this stock for a while. So as you can see right here, your overall risk is medium. They don't have a ton more offering, but they still have a huge amount of dilution that's on the table, and their cash need is starting to become like a more urgent thing. So they have less than a year worth of cash right now, roughly. The warrants are at 175, like 1.75, so $1.75. They've got 37 million shares of that, right? And I think we established that it was about 360 million shares outstanding. But here's the bigger thing. They have this ATM right now that they're able to issue out shares at any point. So this thing's been registered since June of this last year, right? Torchlight. So at any point, if they feel like diluting and raising capital, they can. Now, when you have less than a year's worth of cash left, that means at some point they're going to want to have a run up. So what they'll probably do is what they did for many cases, which is they sit there and they say, okay, well, yeah, assuming yesterday's run-up was killed by the ATM offering. It could be, or it could have just been some, like, people who have been holding for a long time selling. You have to remember, let me see if I can get the averages. All right, so let me see if I can find it for that ticker. All right. So while I try to research this, but essentially what could have happened is this, right? So let's look here. Let me just do this real quick. And let's pull it up on the daily, right? So this was the merger news, right? And then it just absolutely dumped after the merger, right? So that was the split. Okay. One of these was the merger. I don't remember what corporate event it was, but basically since then it's just been getting killed, right? So you now have an earnings here coming up. You've ran up already a good amount. You're overbought on the, RSI. It came back down from there, right? But at some point they're going to want to pump this thing for, my guess would be like cash, because they're going to probably need to issue out some shares to raise some cash, unless they can find a lender to do it. But, as things get more expensive, it's going to be one of those, like, yeah. So let's take a look at the more recent, right? So you've had a nice run up here. Now what you could see is some consolidation, and then possibly you could see another run up if they're really trying to push for those warrants. They also need to make sure that their stock stays above $1. So they've got to come into compliance. So this is going to be one of those things where they need to come into compliance. There's going to be shorts probably. It's not a huge amount of short interest that I see. Let me see if I can pull up real quick the Ortex on this. And any naked shorts that they would have had from the previous thing has been killed by dilution. So they've been able to reset essentially anything that was shady going on pre-merger. That's the issue, right? So they know. Here, let me pull it up. Why is my computer being so slow? Alright, for some reason my computer is being super slow. I'm not sure what's going on here. Try closing down some other things that are open. See if that helps. Maybe Ortex is just having an issue. Because Ortex is not pulling up at all. Service error. Okay, so Ortex is not doing well. Let's try one more time. Yeah, I think Ortex must be down. So I can't pull live or close, their guess at least what the short interest is. What I've been learning though is I've talked to a couple of different people in the industry. And the information we're getting from these these retail focused institutions is crap compared to what the other ones are. So when you pay $10,000 or $12,000 a year, yeah, so there's a lot of these small micro caps that are just getting absolutely pummeled because you've got interest rates rising, which means that it's going to get more expensive for them to, borrow money, right? So that means a lot of them will resort to basically dipping into, dilution to raise the cash, which means that these shorts know that basically they're going to increase the size of the shares outstanding, which means that each stock will be worth less, which means that they have an opportunity to pile on. And that's what a lot of these shorts do. So, how's it going? We got a couple more people in here now. We got, looks like 4 extra people. So if you guys want me to look at any tickers or pull any information, it looks like Ortex is down for some reason. So I'll keep an eye on a couple different tickers for you. Oops. Let's do. So it looks like ATER's about where it was earlier. So I think it's going to go down today. Because why not? You got the SPY dumping now, finally. Yesterday was not a normal day. But yeah. Don, I was going to say, the small microcaps, they're getting pummeled across the board. Even pretty much all meme stocks. It seems like anything that retail was interested in is just getting absolutely hammered. That includes Bitcoin, that includes Ethereum, that includes all those things. Like GameStop right now is nosediving, AMC's nosediving, SPY's not nosediving. So let's take a look. I'm going to make a trade real quick. I've got a call spread that is losing value. I'm up on it, so I need to make sure I don't lose money on the trade. Hold on. Anyone else want to look at anything? Any particular tickers or Mullen's pumping for some reason? Last news was dilution, so wondering about why the pump. Sure, let's take a look real quick. All right. Let's take a look. I wouldn't say that's like pumping. So this looks like a dark pool trade right here, right? I mean, Mullen's up 3%. I wouldn't call that, pumping. I guess at its peak, you might have gotten like 7-10% maybe max, but like, I mean, it looks like they might have been some short covering here, and now they're basically controlling it and selling it off. Are you in Mullen, Jeff? Pumping wrong, usage, moving, yes, okay. Yeah, it moved up slightly. So here's the issue right now with Mullen, right? So you have low institutional ownership. You've got a large float, and that's because they diluted the crap out of the stock. Like, this stock had literally like 5 million shares, then jumped up to like 23 million shares. Then all of a sudden, this was that massive dilution. When we saw all that, like, off exchange, like, they were literally, if I remember correctly, like, I think I noticed this on a scanner, and I was like, their off exchange stuff, like, massively increased. So, like, I noticed that there was a ton of data that basically came out and was like, it looked like basically as a market maker you have something what's called short exempt, and short exempt allows market makers to basically issue out a whole bunch of shares, not issue, but basically like they're basically it's like shorting without like any rules, because market makers are given that status where if they think that a market needs liquidity, they can do that. So we noticed that, and the number is really high, and that usually indicates something weird's going on. So during that time frame, if you look here, this was about what, like beginning of 2022, right, and into March. So if you go back on this ticker, back to roughly March, right into here, I think it was. So this time frame right here, there were some weird things going on, and this is when the stock had dipped down below $1, and then it had a couple massive days, and it had a run right up to basically $4. And this is where we noticed there was a whole bunch of like weird stuff going on, right? Because these were all like just massive, like getting pushed down. The short exempts were through the roof, and then all of a sudden it reversed and it ran up to like $4, and I sold early because I didn't trust this thing. But what was happening was there was massive dilution happening, right? So your shares outstanding went from basically like 23 million all the way up to like 284, then 332, and since then it's now over 500 million right? And they actually have another, because they got authorized, I believe, up to 1.75 billion shares. So, like, they literally passed an approval back in July that they would be able to issue up to 1.75 billion shares. So if you do the math on that, that means your shares are not worth much as far as, like, now they don't have all of them issued yet. This is what the blue represents, basically these shares outstanding. This upper line, though, represents possible dilution in the future. So, like, they're going to need a lot of help to get out of the hole they're in, because they're burning through cash at a pretty decent rate. And they didn't get much cash for the amount of, like, equity they gave up. They gave up a ton of equity for basically nothing, because I'll be honest with you, I think the CEO is incompetent. Like, I mean, he literally was, like, pushing a, like, stock ticker. It was kind of gross what he was doing. Like, he was basically doing it, and at the same time he was selling his shares, which is never a good thing. Like, when he's pumping it and selling his shares, that's not a good indicator that company's in, like, in healthy shape. So there's a massive amount of dilution on the stock, and it's not yet all been issued out, right? So you're going to have over 1 billion shares after all this dilution comes through. And they have an additional 750 million that they can issue out too. CEO's been pulling cash, buying assets. I mean, I can tell you this. If this full dilution comes out, and you look at the balance sheet and see how much the company's actually worth versus the actual amount of dilution that's on the table, yeah, I mean, your stuff would on book value would be worth, like, literally cents, and it's already in the cents. So, like, you're talking about, like, this stock could be literally a penny or a nickel if they have that much dilution based off of how many current assets they actually have. Like, I don't think they're going out of business anytime soon, but they're going to have to give up a ton of equity, which is your equity. So this is a stock that, if you believe in it, like, more power to you. But, there's, look at this. Like, these guys have dipped their toes in. They're not willing to put a whole lot of money into this. If you look at the filings here, all right, so look at total assets, right? So the total assets has increased, right? So that's normally good. Your total liabilities has came down. That's good. At the same time, though, they gave up a massive amount of dilution for this. So if you look and you basically have, let's say, 20 million in equity, right? Is this in millions? Yeah. So let me see if I can pull this up for you. All right. So Ortex is back up and running now, so we can go back and pull. But, like, so take a look at this, right? Your gross profit is shrinking. Your earnings per share is still negative. It's improving slightly. Your debt, though, has been growing. If you look at your income statement, right, your cost of revenue is actually going up, while at the same time your gross profit is actually massively going down, which is not a good thing, right? They're spending a ton of money on research and development. Like, can this company survive? Maybe. If they need to put out some products soon. They haven't sold. This is a very unprofitable company, right? Like, you're talking about somebody that has like no cash. They've got no inventory really. You've got 55K inventory. Like, they haven't put out anything. Just massive amounts of cash flow going out. Let's see. I mean, everything's negative. This is a company that just bleeds money right now. And I know you've got to kind of you're competing against Teslas and all that stuff, but like, let's change this to, you know, someday down the line, this thing could be worth something, but like, you're competing against Tesla, you're competing against every large automotive. You know, I think they have good engineers from what I heard. But at the same time, like, this is further down the line. This is not an immediate thing. And so if you want to buy it down here, personally, I'd be waiting for dilution to happen before I even touched it. But, you know, their biggest thing would probably be being acquired by somebody bigger. Maybe that's what he's going for, but like... So insiders have been buying about 130K worth, and they've sold 3 million worth shares. Or sorry, dollars. 300 or $3.31 million worth of sells versus only 130K buy. So I don't know. I don't like the CEO in this company. I don't think he's the right person for the job. But, you know, at the same time, I think he gave up way too much dilution. Right? This is the other stuff, but... Yeah, I mean, like, you're buying this based off of hope. So... All right, let's take a look real quick. I just want to see what the short interest, though, for MMAT is. Because I know... What's up, Andrew? How are you, bud? Yeah, Don, I think ATER could have moved up pretty nicely. They were about to, and then they issued out at the bottom, which I don't agree with. I think that was a bad move on their part, and I think they killed the trust of retail when they did that. So, okay, so MMAT. Appears a good amount of shares still available. The cost to borrow has been about the same. I think with the big spike in the last couple of days, they would have had some things going on, but this could be the start of it. All right. Yeah, Dave is the CEO of Mullen, right? He's the guy that basically Mitchery, that's his name. He like bought a bunch of this guy. He bought a bunch of free I guess the bots to follow him on Twitter and some other stuff Like, I don't think he understands how this stuff works. Like, he has 11K followers, right? Well, he had like 30 followers, and then all of a sudden overnight he had, you know, something like 10,000 extra, and it was like, you know. Anyway, but like I literally watched him like, I watched him try to pump his stock when I'm like, he was selling shares and he was pumping the stock, and I'm like, you can't do that. Like that's highly illegal. And then he deleted it the next morning. He like tweeted at like 2 in the morning and then deleted it and like at 9 or 10, probably because the lawyer saw it and was like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. But I mean, he came from the music industry, so he has no like experience running this stuff. He's just rich enough that he's hired some smart engineers, and it sounds like they've been doing some stuff, but like, yeah. I don't know. To me, he just like, wasn't he like involved in like Suge Knight and like Warren G's estate, and it was like a big mess. Like, I don't know. This is a guy that I don't think should be running an EV company, but you know, I don't think he understands quite how to run this type of business. I know most people are like, oh, everything it's not the same. Like, he's a guy that likes cars that had money and then has now like basically leveraged himself into a really bad position because he's issued out so many shares. Like, these guys went from 30 million shares outstanding to a $500 million, and all they got for it was a couple $1,000,000. Like, that's a really bad deal. So I don't think this is the type of person that I would want leading. Like, and trust me, I'm aware that, you know, a lot of these companies, you know, it's like, okay, well, we'll see if they make it, but anyway. But yeah, like, I mean, the engineers they hired seemed competent. I saw some of their stuff in their product, and it looked okay. It's just a matter of they haven't been able to put anything out yet. So, all right. Anyone else want to look at any tickers? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna jump off. I'm going to jump off for a little bit. I'm going to do some chores around the house because it's pretty quiet right now. Let me just check the SPY real quick. It's so choppy. Still just dumping. It's a bit oversold. Probably see it narrow out and then maybe take another leg down. Depends on where max pain is. I thought max pain was up at like 370. Most of them probably already called their call or to close their contracts, but well, apparently maxpain.com is for sale, and they want $9,000 for it. So if anyone wants to spend $9,000 to buy a Max Pain site and then write an algorithm. Alright, the SPY's max pain today is 362. Where are we? Oh, wait, 362. Shocking, right? Look at this. Max pain for today. Or no, sorry, is it tomorrow? No, it's today. Max pain for today is 362. And we are at 362. We opened this morning closer to 370. We hit 370 pre-market, and now we're sitting at max pain. So that's kind of what's going on right now. I can put up a couple tickers, or if you want me to stream some level 2s, that's fine. How's that? Now we'll leave this up. I'll just mute myself for a little bit. I'll leave it on. And then if you guys want to watch it, that's fine. I'll be back in a little bit, but I'll just leave it up for now. If you have any requests, just put them in, and I'll pull them up when I come back. Yeah, no doubt. See you, Jeff.